Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the blue planet below. Earth looked peaceful from space. White clouds moved slowly across green and brown land. The oceans sparkled in the sunlight. To him, it looked like any other primitive world the Zephyrian Empire had found before. "Sir, we have finished scanning the planet," said his science officer. "The humans use basic nuclear power and simple rockets. Their weapons are still chemical explosives. They have not even left their own solar system yet." Veltar nodded. This was what he expected. The Zephyrian Empire had been watching Earth for 300 years. Every report said the same thing. Humans were slow to develop. They fought among themselves instead of working together. They were perfect for conquest. "What about their population?" Veltar asked. 8 billion humans live on the planet. They are divided into many small nations. No single government controls the whole world. They would be easy to control once we remove their leaders. Veltar smiled. The Empire needed new workers for the mining colonies. Humans looked strong enough for hard labor. Their planet had good resources too. Water, metals, and fertile soil would serve the Empire well. Down on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the USS Defiant. The old destroyer was on patrol in the Pacific Ocean. Jake had been in the Navy for 15 years. He had never seen anything like the readings on his screens today. "Sir, we are picking up some strange energy signals," said Lieutenant Tony Rivera. Tony worked with the ship's communication equipment. He was good at finding signals that others missed. "These are not like anything we have seen before." Jake looked at the data. The energy patterns moved in ways that made no sense. They appeared and disappeared without warning. They seemed to come from empty space above the Earth. "Could it be a solar storm?" Jake asked. "No, sir. Solar storms create different patterns. This looks more like radio signals, but they are using technology we do not have." Jake felt worried. His ship was old, but its sensors were still good. If Tony said something was out there, Jake believed him. At NORAD, Admiral Lisa Grant was having a busy day. Reports of strange signals were coming in from all over the world. Ships, planes, and ground stations all reported the same thing. Something was out there, and it was watching them. "Admiral, we have confirmation from 12 different sources," said her aide. "The signals are definitely artificial. Someone is scanning our planet." Lisa had been in the military for 25 years. She had never believed in aliens before today. But the evidence was clear. Earth was being watched by someone with better technology than anything humans had built. "Contact the president," she said. "Tell him we may have a situation." Dr. Kate Williams was 3 miles underwater in a research submarine. She was studying strange objects found on the ocean floor. The objects were made of metal, but not any metal she knew. They had been down there for millions of years, yet they showed no signs of rust or damage. "Dr. Williams, you need to see this," said her research partner, Dr. Sam Clark. Sam was pointing at one of the objects. It was glowing with a soft blue light. "That's impossible," Kate said. "These objects have been dead for millions of years. What could make them start glowing now?" The submarine's computers started making noise. New signals were coming from the objects. The signals were complex, like a computer language, but they were using patterns that human computers could barely understand. Kate felt excited and scared at the same time. Her research had shown that human civilization was much older than anyone thought. These objects proved that advanced humans had lived on Earth long before recorded history. But why were they waking up now? Back in space, Commander Veltar received his final report. His ships had mapped every human city, military base, and communication center. The humans had no idea they were being watched. "Sir, we have detected some unusual energy readings from their oceans," reported his science officer. "There appear to be large metal structures on the ocean floor. They are very old, but they are made from advanced materials." Veltar looked at the data. The ocean structures were interesting, but they were obviously dead. They had probably been built by some ancient human civilization that had destroyed itself. Many primitive species did that. "Ignore the old ruins," Veltar said. "Focus on the current human technology. That is what matters for our invasion plans." The science officer nodded and continued his work. Neither of them noticed that the ocean structures had started to glow with faint energy signatures. Admiral Lisa Grant called an emergency meeting with the world's military leaders. Representatives from America, Russia, China, and Europe gathered in a secure video conference. "The signals are definitely from an artificial source," Lisa explained. "We believe we are being scanned by an unknown intelligence. The technology is far beyond anything we have." General Roy Hamilton from the Army spoke up. "What are our options if this is hostile?" "Limited," Lisa admitted. "If they have the technology to scan us from space without us detecting their ships, they probably have weapons we cannot defend against." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If the unknown visitors were hostile, humanity would have little chance of survival. Dr. Kate Williams surfaced from her dive with new data. The glowing objects had transmitted thousands of files to her computers. The files contained blueprints, star maps, and what looked like instruction manuals, but they were written in symbols that would take years to decode. "Sam, look at this," Kate said, pointing at her screen. "These symbols appear in ancient caves all over the world. I think these objects are trying to teach us something." Sam studied the data. "The timing cannot be a coincidence. These objects start glowing on the same day we detect alien signals. They must be connected somehow." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. What if these objects are not just ancient human technology? What if they are some kind of defense system? What if they are waking up because Earth is in danger? Commander Veltar prepared his final report for the Empire. Earth would be classified as a Class C civilization. The humans had some interesting technology, but nothing that posed a threat to Zephyrian ships. The planet would be ready for conquest within 1 year. He sent the report through hyperspace to the Empire's capital. Within days, Admiral Zexnoth would receive orders to prepare an invasion fleet. 50 ships would be more than enough to conquer Earth. Veltar looked at the blue planet one last time before his ship jumped to hyperspace. The humans had no idea what was coming. In 6 months, their peaceful world would belong to the Zephyrian Empire. But deep in Earth's oceans, ancient systems continued to wake up. Massive shapes stirred in the darkness. Computers that had slept for millions of years began running diagnostic tests. Weapons that could crack planets started charging their power cells. The Zephyrians thought they knew everything about Earth. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 6 months passed quickly on Earth. Dr. Kate Williams had made progress decoding the ancient symbols, but she still had more questions than answers. The objects on the ocean floor continued to glow brighter each day. She knew something big was coming, but she did not know what. The answer came on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Zexnoth's fleet dropped out of hyperspace just outside Earth's atmosphere. 50 massive ships appeared in the sky above major cities around the world. Each ship was 3 miles long and armed with weapons that could destroy entire continents. Captain. Jake Morrison was eating breakfast when the alarms started ringing on his ship. He ran to the bridge and saw something that made his blood run cold. A Zephyrian battleship hung in the sky above San Francisco. It was so large it blocked out the sun. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," said Tony Rivera. His hands shook as he worked the communication controls. "It is being broadcast to every radio, television, and computer on Earth." The message was simple and terrifying. Admiral Zexnoth appeared on every screen in the world. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. When he spoke, his voice was cold and emotionless. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Zexnoth of the Zephyrian Empire. Your planet has been selected for incorporation into our empire. You have 72 hours to surrender your governments and military forces. If you comply, you will be allowed to live as workers in our colonies. If you resist, your species will be eliminated. This is your only warning." The transmission ended, leaving the world in chaos. Panic spread through every city as people realized that aliens were real and they wanted to conquer Earth. President Alex Carter called an emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room. Military leaders, scientists, and world leaders joined by video conference. The room buzzed with frightened voices as everyone tried to understand what was happening. "General Hamilton, what are our military options?" the president asked. General Roy Hamilton looked grim. Sir, our most powerful nuclear weapons would barely scratch the paint on those ships. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. A direct military confrontation would be suicide. Secretary of State Amy Foster spoke. Mr. President, perhaps we should consider negotiation. Maybe we can find a peaceful solution. Peaceful? General Hamilton snapped. They want to enslave the entire human race. There is nothing to negotiate. The argument continued for hours, while the clock ticked down. Outside, people filled the streets in panic. Some prayed, others rioted, and many just stared at the alien ships in the sky. Captain Jake Morrison received orders to join the hastily formed Earth Defense Fleet. Ships from every nation gathered in the Pacific Ocean. Ancient destroyers sailed alongside modern cruisers. Fighter jets from different countries flew in mixed formations. Everyone knew it was hopeless, but they had to try. Commander Paul Stevens led a squadron of F-22 fighters. He had been a pilot for 10 years, but he had never flown against spaceships before. His weapons were designed to fight other aircraft, not massive alien battleships. "All pilots, this is Commander Stevens," he said over the radio. "I know this looks impossible, but we have to protect our families. Even if we cannot win, we can show these aliens that humans do not give up without a fight." Colonel Beth Turner coordinated ground-based missile systems from her command center in Colorado. She had every nuclear missile in America pointed at the alien ships. The missiles would probably not work, but they were all she had. Dr. Kate Williams worked frantically. In her underwater laboratory, the ancient objects were now glowing so brightly that they lit up the ocean floor like underwater suns. Her computers could barely handle all the data they were transmitting. "Dr. Williams, you need to see this," said Sam Clark. He pointed at a massive structure rising from a deep ocean trench. "That thing is the size of a city and it is moving." Kate looked at her sonar displays in amazement. Huge shapes were stirring all across the ocean floor. Things that had been sleeping for millions of years were waking up. Some were as large as aircraft carriers. Others were bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Sam, I think these are not just buildings," Kate said. "I think they are ships. Ancient ships that have been waiting for this moment." Admiral Zexnoth watched the human preparations from his flagship. The primitive creatures were gathering their pathetic military forces. Their largest ships were smaller than his smallest fighters. Their weapons used crude chemical explosives instead of plasma energy. This would be the easiest conquest in Zephyrian history. "Admiral, we are detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's oceans," reported his science officer. "There appears to be some kind of activity on the ocean floor." Zexnoth looked at the data and laughed. "Probably underwater volcanic activity caused by fear. These primitives are so scared they are making their own planet shake." The science officer was not convinced, but he did not argue with his admiral. The energy readings were unlike anything in their databases, but Zexnoth was confident that humans posed no threat. With 12 hours left until the deadline, President Carter addressed the world. His speech was broadcast to every human on Earth and transmitted to the alien fleet. "To the Zephyrian Empire, humanity rejects your demands. We will not surrender our freedom or enslave our children. If you want our planet, you will have to take it by force. To my fellow humans, we face the greatest challenge in our history, but we will face it together, as one species united against tyranny." Admiral Zexnoth received the message and smiled. Human defiance would make their destruction more satisfying. He gave orders to begin the attack at sunrise. Dr. Kate Williams made a breakthrough in her research just as the deadline approached. The ancient symbols were not just instructions, they were activation codes. The underwater structures were responding to human DNA. They recognized modern humans as descendants of their builders. "Sam, these ships have been waiting for us," Kate said excitedly. "They were built by ancient humans millions of years ago. They have been sleeping until someone with human DNA needed them." She sent her findings to every government and military leader she could contact. Most ignored her message as the ravings of a desperate scientist. But Admiral Lisa Grant at NORAD read every word carefully. "Dr. Williams, this is Admiral Grant. If what you are saying is true, how do we activate these ancient ships?" "Human pilots need to make direct contact with the ships," Kate replied. The ships will bond with humans who have the right genetic markers, but I do not know which humans will be compatible. Admiral Grant looked at the reports from around the world. Massive shapes were rising from ocean trenches everywhere. If Dr. Williams was right, these ancient ships might be humanity's only hope. Captain Jake Morrison volunteered to attempt contact with the nearest ancient ship. His destroyer was close to a massive structure that had risen from the Mariana Trench. The structure was dark and covered with strange markings, but it was clearly artificial. "Sir, we are receiving a signal from that thing," Tony Rivera reported. "It is scanning our ship." "No, wait. It is scanning you specifically, Captain." Jake felt a strange tingling sensation as invisible beams passed over his body. The ancient ship was reading his DNA, comparing it to genetic templates stored in its memory banks for millions of years. Suddenly, the massive ship came alive. Lights flowed across its hull like water. Weapon systems that had been dormant since before humans invented fire began to power up. The ship sent a message directly into Jake's mind. "Welcome home, descendant. We have been waiting for you." Jake Morrison realized that everything was about to change. The aliens thought they were conquering a primitive world. They had no idea that they had just awakened humanity's prehistoric fleet. Dawn broke across the Pacific Ocean. Admiral Zexnoth gave the order to begin the attack. Zephyrian ships opened fire on human cities with devastating plasma weapons. But, as the first alien shot struck the Earth, the oceans began to glow with an ancient light that had not been seen for millions of years. Captain Jake Morrison felt the ancient ship's mind touch his own. It was like suddenly remembering a dream from millions of years ago. The ship called itself Leviathan, and it had been waiting in the deep ocean since before human civilization began. "I do not understand," Jake said out loud, though he knew the ship could hear his thoughts. "How can you be millions of years old? Humans have only existed for a few 100,000 years." The ship's answer filled his mind with images and knowledge. Humans had not evolved on Earth. They had been placed here by an ancient human civilization that once ruled the galaxy. When that civilization fell to an unknown enemy, they hid their children on primitive worlds and left behind guardians to protect them. "We are those guardians," Leviathan explained. "We have slept in Earth's oceans, waiting for the day our children would need us. That day has come." Jake climbed into a small submarine and descended toward the massive ship. As he got closer, he could see that Leviathan was not built like any human technology. The hull looked organic, like the shell of some enormous sea creature. Glowing lines ran across its surface like veins carrying luminous blood. Dr. Kate Williams and her team watched from their research station as Jake's submarine disappeared into an opening in the ship's hull. Sam Clark monitored the energy readings as the ancient vessel came fully online. "Kate, the power output from that ship is incredible," Sam said. "It is generating more energy than every nuclear power plant on Earth combined, and it is not even fully awake yet." Similar scenes played out around the world. In the Atlantic Ocean, Commander Sue Walsh from the British Navy made contact with a ship that called itself Megalodon. In the Indian Ocean, Lieutenant Danny Green from the Australian Air Force bonded with a vessel named Kraken. Each ship was different, designed for specific types of combat, over millions of years of evolution. Admiral Lisa Grant coordinated the awakening process from her command center. Reports came in from every ocean as ancient ships rose from the depths. Most were enormous, dwarfing modern aircraft carriers, but some were smaller, sleek vessels designed for speed and stealth. "Admiral, we have confirmed contact with 17 ancient vessels," reported her aide. "Each ship has bonded with a human pilot. The pilots report that the ships are downloading tactical information directly into their minds." Lisa felt amazed and terrified at the same time. Humanity had gone from helpless victims to possessing the most advanced fleet in the galaxy in just a few hours. But she wondered what price they would pay for this power. Dr. Ryan Parker, a physicist working with NASA, studied the energy readings from the ancient ships. What he found changed everything he thought he knew about physics. "These ships do not use any technology we understand," Ryan reported to his colleagues. "They seem to tap directly into the fundamental forces of the universe. Their power source is not fusion or antimatter. It is something much more advanced." Captain Jake Morrison found himself inside Leviathan's control center. The walls were covered with displays, showing information in symbols he somehow understood. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke to him through thoughts rather than words. "Your species has grown well," Leviathan said. "You have learned to work together despite your differences. You have developed compassion and courage. These are the qualities your ancestors hoped you would gain." Jake learned that each ancient ship was alive in its own way. They were not just machines, they were partners. The ships had personalities, memories, and emotions developed over millions of years of existence. "Why did you wait so long to reveal yourselves?" Jake asked. "Because you were not ready," Leviathan replied. "Your ancestors were powerful, but they were also proud and aggressive. They destroyed themselves in a war that nearly ended all life in the galaxy. We waited for you to become better than they were." Meanwhile, Admiral Zexnoth continued his attack on Earth cities. Zephyrian plasma weapons struck targets around the world. Human military forces fought back with everything they had, but their weapons could barely scratch the alien ships. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures rising from the planet's oceans," reported Zexnoth's science officer. "The readings are off our scales." Zexnoth looked at the data with growing concern. The energy patterns were unlike anything in Zephyrian databases. They seemed to be coming from ships, but ships larger and more powerful than anything the Empire had ever encountered. "Impossible," Zexnoth muttered. "The humans do not have this technology. Our intelligence reports showed they barely have nuclear weapons." The first ancient ship to break the ocean's surface was Leviathan. Jake Morrison sat in the command center as his ship rose from the Mariana Trench like a moving island. The ship was over 5 miles long and covered with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with inner light. Zephyrian sensors detected Leviathan immediately. The alien ships turned their weapons toward the rising giant, but their targeting computers could not get a lock. The ancient ship seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. "All Zephyrian vessels target the large ship rising from the ocean," Admiral Zexnoth ordered. "Destroy it before it can attack." A dozen Zephyrian battleships fired their plasma cannons at Leviathan. The massive energy beams struck the ancient ship's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive fields that converted the attack energy into power for the ship's own systems. Jake felt Leviathan's amusement at the alien attack. "Their weapons are primitive compared to what we faced in the ancient wars," the ship explained. "They use brute force, we use elegance." Leviathan's first attack was devastating. The ship fired what looked like a stream of liquid light. The beam struck a Zephyrian battleship and the alien vessel simply ceased to exist. It did not explode or burn. It was erased from reality as if it had never been built. "What kind of weapon was that?" Jake asked in amazement. "Quantum disintegration," Leviathan replied. "We unmade the bonds that held their ship together at the subatomic level. The energy was returned to the quantum foam from which all matter comes." Around the world, other ancient ships surfaced and joined the battle. Megalodon emerged near the Mediterranean Sea and engaged 3 Zephyrian cruisers. Commander Sue Walsh watched in awe as her ship deployed weapons that folded space around the alien vessels, crushing them like tin cans. Kraken surfaced in the Pacific and demonstrated a different approach. Lieutenant Danny Green's ship extended massive tentacle-like appendages that grabbed Zephyrian fighters out of the sky. The tentacles were not physical. They were controlled gravity fields that could reach across thousands of miles. Dr. Kate Williams surfaced in her research submarine to witness the battle. What she saw was beyond anything science fiction had ever imagined. The ancient ships moved like living creatures through air and space. They dodged attacks that should have been impossible to avoid and struck back with weapons that rewrote the laws of physics. "Sam, are you recording this?" Kate asked. "Every second," Sam replied. "But I do not think anyone will believe it even with video evidence." The Zephyrian fleet found itself outmatched in every way. Their ships were fast, but the ancient vessels moved faster. Their weapons were powerful, but the prehistoric ships had defenses that made them nearly invulnerable. Worst of all, the ancient ships seemed to learn and adapt during combat, becoming more effective with each passing minute. Admiral Zexnoth watched his fleet being destroyed and could not understand what was happening. "Where did these ships come From? How did the humans hide this fleet from our scouts? His science officer studied the energy readings and made a terrifying discovery. Sir, these ships are not just advanced, they are ancient. Our computers estimate they are millions of years old. The humans did not build them. Zexnoth felt fear for the first time in his military career. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. These ancient ships fought with technology that seemed like magic. Commander Veltar, who had led the original scout mission to Earth, tried to understand what had gone wrong. His reports had shown that humans were primitive and helpless. How could they have hidden ships that made the Empire's best vessels look like toys? Admiral, we should retreat, Veltar suggested. We need to report this to the Empire. They must know about these ancient vessels. But Zexnoth was too proud to retreat. No, we will destroy these ships and conquer this planet. The Empire expects victory, and we will deliver it. He ordered his remaining ships to focus their attacks on Leviathan, thinking that destroying the largest ship would break human morale. It was the worst mistake of his military career. Jake Morrison felt Leviathan's anger at the concentrated attack. The ancient ship had been patient and merciful, but the aliens had chosen to continue their aggression. Show them what they face, Jake said. Leviathan's response was swift and terrible. The ship's hull opened in dozens of places, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden inside its living structure. Beams of pure energy lanced out in all directions, striking every Zephyrian ship in the fleet simultaneously. The alien vessels tried to flee, but the ancient weapons moved faster than light itself. One by one, the Zephyrian ships were destroyed or disabled. Within minutes, Admiral Zexnoth found himself alone in space. The wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet floated in Earth's orbit like a graveyard of metal and dreams. Admiral Zexnoth sat alone in his damaged command center, staring at screens that showed the impossible. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been destroyed by ships that should not exist. Captain Jake Morrison felt Leviathan's satisfaction at their victory, but the ancient ship's emotions were complex. There was sadness mixed with the triumph, a deep sorrow for the necessity of violence. Why do you feel sad? Jake asked. We protected Earth. We saved humanity. Because we remember the cost of war, Leviathan replied. Your ancestors were powerful, warriors, but war consumed them. We hoped your generation would find a different path. Jake understood. The ancient ships were weapons of incredible power, but they had been created by people who knew the price of using such weapons. The original human civilization had destroyed itself despite having technology that could reshape reality. Around the world, other ancient ships emerged from the depths. Commander Sue Walsh piloted Megalodon to the surface near Gibraltar. The massive ship was built like a moving fortress, with armor that could withstand planet-killing weapons. Its weapons were designed for siege warfare, capable of cracking the crust of worlds. Lieutenant Danny Green brought Kraken to the surface in the Pacific. His ship was different from the others, built for speed and precision rather than raw power. Its tentacle-like weapon arrays could reach across solar systems to strike targets with surgical accuracy. Commander Pete Hansen made contact with a ship called Titan near the Arctic Ocean. Titan was the largest of all the ancient vessels, over 10 miles long and designed to fight other ships of its size. Its main weapon could destroy moons, and its defensive systems could withstand the explosion of stars. Dr. Kate Williams coordinated with the emerging fleet from her research station. Her computers worked constantly to decode the ancient databases that each ship carried. What she found amazed and terrified her. Sam, these ships contain the complete history of human civilization, Kate said. Not our civilization, the one that came before. They ruled the galaxy for millions of years before something destroyed them. Sam studied the data flowing across their screens. What destroyed them? Another alien empire? No, Kate replied grimly. They destroyed themselves. Civil war. The ancient humans split into factions and fought until their entire civilization collapsed. These ships are all that remains of an empire that once controlled 1 million worlds. Admiral Lisa Grant received reports from around the globe as more ancient ships awakened. The fleet was vast, with hundreds of vessels emerging from ocean trenches, underground caverns, and even from beneath the polar ice caps. "Admiral, we now have contact with over 200 ancient vessels," her aide reported. "Each ship is bonding with human pilots. The pilots report that the ships are sharing tactical knowledge and historical data." Lisa felt overwhelmed by the responsibility. Humanity now possessed the most powerful military force in the galaxy, but they had no experience using such weapons. The ancient ships were patient teachers, but there was so much to learn. Dr. Ryan Parker continued his analysis of the ancient technology. What he discovered challenged everything humans thought they knew about science and engineering. "These ships are not built from normal matter," Ryan reported to his team. "They are constructed from exotic materials that exist partially in other dimensions. That is why they can move faster than light and why energy weapons cannot damage them." The ships were alive in ways that human science could barely understand. They could repair themselves, adapt to new threats, and even evolve their weapons and defenses during combat. Each ship had its own personality and memories spanning millions of years. Admiral Zexnoth attempted to send a distress signal to the Zephyrian Empire, but Leviathan intercepted the transmission. Jake Morrison had to decide what to do with the defeated alien commander. "We should execute him," suggested some of the human military leaders. "He came here to enslave our species." But Jake felt Leviathan's wisdom guiding his thoughts. The ancient ship had seen too much war and death. It preferred a different approach. "Admiral Zexnoth, this is Captain Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet," Jake broadcast to the alien's ship. "You have two choices. You can return to your empire and tell them what happened here, or you can surrender and help us understand the galactic political situation." Zexnoth was shocked that the humans were offering him a choice. In Zephyrian culture, defeated enemies were always executed or enslaved. The concept of mercy was foreign to him. "Why would you spare my life?" Zexnoth asked. "Your species should hate me for what I tried to do." Jake thought about his answer carefully. "Because we are not the same as our ancestors. We have learned that hatred only leads to more war. If you help us understand the galaxy, maybe we can find a better way." Commander Veltar, who had survived the battle in an escape pod, was picked up by Kraken. Lieutenant Danny Green brought the alien scout aboard his ship, where Dr. Kate Williams questioned him about Zephyrian military capabilities. "Your empire conquers other species," Kate said. "How many worlds do you control?" Veltar seemed nervous as he answered, "The Empire rules over 300 systems. We have conquered 47 different species in the last 1,000 years." Kate felt sick at the scale of Zephyrian expansion. Billions of intelligent beings lived under alien oppression, forced to work as slaves in mining colonies and factory worlds. "What happens to the people you conquer?" she asked. "They become workers for the Empire," Veltar replied. "Those who resist are eliminated. Those who cooperate are allowed to live, but they can never hold positions of authority." Kate shared this information with the other human leaders. The ancient fleet had the power to free every world under Zephyrian control, but using that power would mean starting a galactic war. Admiral Lisa Grant convened a meeting of world leaders to discuss humanity's next steps. President Alex Carter joined leaders from every major nation in a secure video conference. "We have the power to reshape the galaxy," President Carter said, "but we need to decide how to use that power responsibly," General Roy Hamilton argued, for aggressive action. "These aliens came here to enslave us. How many other species are suffering under their rule? We have a moral obligation to free them." Secretary of State Amy Foster urged caution. "We do not understand galactic politics. If we attack the Zephyrian Empire, other alien civilizations might see us as a threat. We could start a war that destroys everything." The debate continued for hours while the ancient ships waited patiently in Earth's oceans. Each ship carried the memories of the last galactic war, when the original human civilization had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. They would follow their new human partners, but they hoped for wisdom rather than vengeance. Captain Jake Morrison made the decision that would change the course of galactic history. After consulting with Leviathan and the other ship commanders, he proposed a plan that balanced justice with caution. "We will track down the surviving Zephyrian ships," Jake announced. "But we will not attack the Empire directly. Instead, we will liberate their conquered worlds one by one. We will give each species the choice to join a new galactic federation or remain independent." Commander Sue Walsh supported the plan. Megalodon's databases contained detailed information about every world under Zephyrian control. "We know where their military bases are located. We can free entire systems without massive civilian casualties." Lieutenant Danny Green agreed. Kraken's speed would allow them to strike quickly and disappear before the Empire could respond. "We can be ghosts in space, appearing wherever people need freedom." Commander Pete Hansen pledged Titan's massive firepower to break any stronghold that refused to surrender. "If they want to fight, we will show them why the ancient humans ruled the galaxy." Dr. Kate Williams made an important discovery in the ancient databases. The original human civilization had not been evil, but it had become corrupted by power. The ancient ships remembered the lessons of that failure. "These ships will help us avoid the mistakes of the past," Kate told the assembled leaders. "They can teach us to be powerful without becoming tyrants." The fleet prepared to leave Earth for the first time in millions of years. Each ship checked its systems and prepared for the long journey to Zephyrian space. The ancient vessels could travel faster than anything in the galaxy, crossing vast distances in hours rather than years. Admiral Zexnoth watched the preparations with growing amazement. The humans were not planning to hide behind their powerful ships. They were going to hunt down every Zephyrian vessel that had escaped the battle and challenge the Empire itself. "You will not survive," Zexnoth warned Jake Morrison. "The Empire has thousands of ships. You only have a few hundred." Jake smiled as he felt Leviathan's confidence. "Admiral, you still do not understand what we are dealing with. These ships defeated enemies that make your empire look like children playing with toys. A few hundred ancient ships are worth more than all the fleets in the galaxy combined." The ancient fleet began to move. Leviathan led the way, its massive bulk accelerating smoothly toward the edge of the solar system. Behind it, hundreds of prehistoric warships followed in perfect formation. The ancient fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Zephyrian territory, like ghosts returning from the dead. Captain Jake Morrison stood in Leviathan's command center, watching as his ship's sensors mapped the alien star system ahead. 3 worlds orbited a red giant star, each one home to billions of enslaved beings. "The main Zephyrian base is on the second planet," Leviathan explained to Jake through their mental link. "They have 40 ships stationed there, plus orbital defense, platforms and ground-based weapons." Jake studied the tactical display. In the old days, 40 ships would have been a serious threat. Now, with the ancient fleet's capabilities, they seemed almost insignificant. "Can we disable their defenses without killing civilians?" Jake asked. "Of course," Leviathan replied. "We have had millions of years to perfect precision warfare. We can remove their military capability while leaving their cities untouched." Commander Sue Walsh piloted Megalodon toward the outer planet, where intelligence reports indicated a major slave labor camp. The massive fortress ship moved silently through space, its exotic hull invisible to Zephyrian sensors. Lieutenant Danny Green took Kraken to scout the inner system. His ship's tentacle-like sensor arrays reached across millions of miles, gathering detailed information about Zephyrian military positions and the locations of enslaved populations. Commander Pete Hansen held Titan in reserve, the massive ship's planet-killing weapons ready to deal with any unexpected threats. The ship's presence alone would be enough to make most enemies surrender without a fight. The first sign of trouble came when Zephyrian patrol ships detected strange energy signatures at the edge of their system. Admiral Kexivore, the sector commander, received panicked reports from his scouts. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy readings approaching our system," his science officer reported. "The signatures do not match any known technology." Admiral Kexivore had heard rumors about the disaster at Earth. Entire fleets had simply vanished, and the few survivors told impossible stories about ancient ships rising from the oceans. He had dismissed these reports as the fantasies of defeated commanders. "How many ships are we detecting?" Kexvor asked. "Unknown, sir. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Our sensors cannot get accurate readings." Kexvor felt the first stirring of fear. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through superior technology for over 1,000 years. The idea that someone might have better weapons was unthinkable. On the second planet, a species called the Altarians worked in massive mining operations under Zephyrian supervision. They had been enslaved for 300 years, their own civilization destroyed by orbital bombardment. Most had given up hope of ever being free, but some still remembered the old legends. Stories passed down through generations spoke of ancient guardians who would one day return to free the oppressed. Elder Zareth was one of the few who still believed these legends might be true. "The old stories speak of ships that swim through space like fish through water," Zareth told his grandson. "Ships built by the first people, who ruled the stars, before the current age began." His grandson, like most young Altarians, had never known freedom. "Grandfather, these are just stories. No one is coming to save us." But even as they spoke, the ancient fleet was moving into position around their world. Leviathan's first strike was against the orbital defense platforms. The massive ship simply appeared next to the nearest station, having moved through folded space in the blink of an eye. The Zephyrian weapons fired automatically, but their energy beams passed harmlessly through Leviathan's multi-dimensional hull. The ancient ship's response was swift and precise. Streams of controlled energy reached out like fingers, shutting down the station's power systems and disabling its weapons. The Zephyrian crew found themselves trapped in a dead station, unable to fight or flee. Similar scenes played out around all three planets as the ancient fleet disabled military targets with surgical precision. Megalodon appeared above the slave camps and began broadcasting messages in dozens of languages. "People of this world, you are free," Commander Sue Walsh announced. "The Zephyrian Empire no longer controls your destiny. We are here to offer you protection and the chance to rebuild your civilization." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Millions of enslaved beings looked up at the sky in wonder as massive ships appeared overhead. Some wept with joy, others fell to their knees in gratitude, and many simply stood in stunned silence. Admiral Kexavor tried to organize a defense, but his ships were outmatched in every way. When he ordered his fleet to attack Leviathan, Captain Jake Morrison decided to make a demonstration that would end the battle quickly. "Leviathan, show them what they are truly facing," Jake commanded. The ancient ship extended its consciousness across the entire star system. Every Zephyrian computer, communication system, and weapon platform suddenly displayed the same message in perfect Zephyrian script. "This is Captain Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet. Your military forces are now disabled. Your choice is simple: surrender and withdraw from this system, or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to decide." Along with the message came a brief video showing the destruction of Admiral Zexnoth's fleet at Earth. 40 ships reduced to wreckage in minutes by weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Admiral Kexvor watched the video in horror. The ships in the recording were the same ones now surrounding his position. He had 2,000 crew members under his command and no hope of victory against these impossible weapons. "All ships, stand down," Kexavor ordered. "Prepare for evacuation." The liberation of the first Zephyrian system took less than 2 hours from start to finish. No shots were fired, no lives were lost, and 3 worlds containing over 5 billion enslaved beings were suddenly free. Dr. Kate Williams received the report back on Earth and immediately began coordinating relief efforts. The newly freed worlds would need food, medical supplies, and help rebuilding their civilizations. "Sam, we need to establish contact with the galactic community," Kate told her research partner. "There must be other species who oppose Zephyrian expansion. We need allies, not just military victories." The ancient fleet moved on to the next system, then the next. Word of their coming spread faster than their ships could travel. Some Zephyrian commanders fled without fighting, others tried to make stands that ended in swift defeat. But the most important developments were happening among the freed populations. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were suddenly free to choose their own destinies. Many wanted revenge against their former oppressors, but the ancient ships encouraged a different path. Elder Zareth found himself speaking to Captain Morrison through a communication link established by Leviathan. The ancient ship translated their conversation perfectly, allowing two species separated by millions of years to understand each other. "Why do you help us?" Zareth asked. "What do you gain from our freedom?" Jake thought carefully about his answer. "Because we learn from the mistakes of our ancestors. Power without compassion leads to destruction. We want to build something better than empire." News of humanity's victories reached the Zephyrian capital world within weeks. Emperor Vexenol, supreme ruler of the empire, convened his war council to address the crisis. "How many systems have we lost?" the emperor demanded. 47 systems in the past month," reported General Daxhar. "The humans appear to have unlimited ships and weapons that our forces cannot match. Our fleets flee rather than fight." Emperor Vexenol was furious. The Zephyrian Empire had never faced a serious military challenge. The idea that primitive humans could threaten their 1,000-year rule was incomprehensible. "Gather every ship in the Empire," Vexenol commanded. "We will crush these humans and reclaim our territory." But even as the Emperor spoke, reports arrived of new developments that changed everything. The freed worlds were not remaining independent. They were forming an alliance with humanity. The Terran Federation was growing rapidly, offering protection and mutual aid to any species willing to join. Commander Paul Stevens, who had started the war flying fighters against impossible odds, now found himself piloting an ancient ship called Aurora. The sleek vessel was designed for diplomacy and exploration rather than warfare, but it was still more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen for millions of years. "Captain Morrison, we are receiving requests for membership from over 200 species," Paul reported. "They want protection from the Zephyrian Empire and help rebuilding their civilizations." Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet, felt the weight of responsibility. Humanity had gone from a single world to leading a galactic federation in less than a year. "Accept any species that agrees to our principles," Jake decided. "No slavery, no conquest of other civilizations, and mutual aid in times of crisis." Dr. Kate Williams made another crucial discovery in the ancient databases. The original human civilization had not been destroyed by war alone. It had been corrupted by the belief that they were superior to all other species. The ancient humans started as liberators, Kate reported to the Federation Council. But over time, they began to see themselves as the natural rulers of the galaxy. That pride led to their downfall. Admiral Lisa Grant, now serving as Earth's representative to the